Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the Sachsenring. It is hot. It's going to be a totally hot weekend here. We're already sweating. Jack Aitken's got some protection here from the sun, but it doesn't really help. It's still very hot. And yeah, we're excited to be here. Not many races to go, only 6 more races to go. And the man who's in pole position, you were actually in the qualifying in P2, but then luckily you were pushed forward to pole because Thomas Preining had a penalty. And it's also your 4th time in pole, so maybe that's a good omen. What are you going to do to stay in the front? Obviously, it's tough to overtake here, so maybe that's good for you.
Yeah, I mean, historically, it is tough, but it's possible, especially because tyre management is quite key here. So if you cook the tyres, then quite easily you can start to slide down the field. So we hope for a clean lap 1. I already started once, I think, with Mirko on the front row this year, so we know each other quite well. But it's quite tight and twisty in the first few corners. So we try to keep it clean. And then after that, just manage the tyres in this heat. Yeah.
And I guess nobody wants to cook in the sun. You're just going to try to keep your cool.
Yes, exactly. It's going to get really hot in the car again. But, you know, this is what we're here for. So we look forward to it, I guess.
All right. Well, best of luck for the race. Thank you so much, Jack. And now here are your commentators.
Thanks very much indeed, Verena. Afternoon, everybody. Welcome then to the Sachsenring, the 6th weekend of DTM 2024. Rounds 11 and 12 of the championship coming up. And the hottest race of the year coming up as well, potentially. It is just under 28 degrees, the air temperature, but inside the cockpits of those cars, add 30. It's going to be about 60 degrees. Arjun Maini then taking some fluids on board. He's going to be starting up in the top 5 on the grid. And the grid is where we can go back to now and catch back up with Verena Reed.
And I'm here with Mirko Bortolatti, who's really in good spirits, and so is his complete team, so that's good to see. And obviously, I love that look, Mirko. You're looking really good and cool, probably.
Thank you.
All right. So you're in P2, which is fantastic. Obviously, you've got Jack in pole. It's difficult to overtake. You're 6 points behind Kelvin, so I guess your main aim is just to stay in the front.
No, the main aim is to take the best possible result today. After a strong quali, when you start in the front, you want to obviously try and finish on the front. And we know how difficult it is and how long the race is, but that's our target.
And quite frankly, how tough is the Sachsenring?
It's tough for the tires, I think, quite a lot. It's hot today, as last year as well. So it's going to be important to manage them well over the stint. And as you already mentioned, it's never easy to overtake, but it's not impossible. And qualifying is always nice at the Sachsenring. It's one of the best tracks in quali trim.
All right, well, best of luck for the race. Thank you so much, Mirko. And now we're going to move over here to P3 because we've got Lukas Stolz, who's already waiting for me. I love that. When I don't need to look for the drivers, I just see them, and there he is with a big smile on his face. Hello. Were you waiting for me?
Always.
Oh, that's very sweet. And I'm so excited that you're starting in P3. So hopefully we'll see you later on also on the podium. I mean, this is brilliant, and you have a great chance, right, to maybe even go a bit further than P3. Who knows?
That's the plan, yeah. I don't know. Last year we had a good race here, and I quite like this track. And let's say P3 is quite a nice starting position. But yeah, it's always a tricky one, especially first 3 corners here. And yeah, let's see. We see after 1 hour.
And let me just ask, what's your secret? Everyone here is sweating. It looks really hot. You don't look like you're sweating. You don't mind the heat?
I just came back from the box.
All right. And I'm sure you're going to be sweating in that car, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's a hot one today.
All right, best of luck, Lukas. Thank you so much. And now we're going to move over to the reigning champion, Thomas Preining, who is, unfortunately, I mean, in the qualifying, he was in P5, but now in pole position, but he was pushed back due to some warnings, but he's not here. So we're going to see if we maybe can find him later on, but he's not here yet. So we're going to, while we look for the next driver, how about going back to the commentators? I'll be right back.
Thanks very much, Verena. Yeah, Thomas Preining, one of 2 drivers with the 5-place grid penalty. It's because he's had 3 reprimands, and that was because of a late track limits penalty that he picked up at the end of race 2 at the Nürburgring. So qualified with a new lap record, a 1 minute 17.199 on pole position, but we'll have to start 6th on the grid. And René Rast is the other driver with a 5-place grid penalty. He didn't qualify very well anyway in the BMW. qualifying in 17th place, but with a 5-place grid penalty, that puts him all the way back to last on the grid, René Rast. Also low down on the grid is Ricardo Feller with his worst qualifying of the year, qualified 19th. He'll start 18th due to René Rast's grid penalty. That's his worst qualifying since the Red Bull Ring last year. Right, down on that super hot grid, we can go back to Verena.
And now quickly we managed to find Kelvin van der Linde. And Kelvin, 6 points in the leadership ahead of Milko Bortolotti, but it's going to be a tough one starting from a bit further back.
Yeah, it's going to be tough today, but you know what? Nürburgring, we were P12 after the first corner. We fought back. It's not going to be easy this championship. We know that. So, yeah, today we're going to fight hard.
You do that. Thank you so much. I think the next interview partner is waiting. So in that case, back to you, and I'm going to find Thomas Preining.
Thanks very much, Verena. Kelvin van der Linde only qualifying in 10th place earlier on this morning. And we had him on qualifying on the team radio fuming because he was saying, I've got a driver that's gone off in front of me twice now, which has distracted me. And the driver, which we then later found out from the team that had gone off a couple of times in front of Kelvin, was Marco Wittmann. So he never quite got the lap together. And his teammate, as I say, Ricardo Feller, is back 18th on the grid, as there's a new way of trying to keep cool. There's an experienced driver for you, Maro Engel, just covering himself in water, because it's going to be a really tough test for the drivers. Maro, of course, third in the championship, and he'll start 5th on the grid today. Right, Verena has found her next target. Let's go back to her.
The next target is Thomas Preining, our reigning champion, who is unfortunately in the qualifying you were in pole position, but due to 3 warnings you're pushed back to P5. But obviously anything is possible, even though it's very difficult to overtake here at the Sachsenring. What are you going to do to hopefully end up the race way more in the front?
Well, first of all, massive thanks to the team. We've had a perfect car, as always, more or less. I mean, in quali we always nail it for what's possible, and today that was pole, so obviously a great feeling, a big boost for the whole team after a quite difficult season, so I'm happy about that. And now in the race we will, as always, try to maximize. It's not super easy to overtake here, but for sure with strategy, because of the high tire deck, you know, maybe something could be possible, and we'll try our best.
And how exactly, everyone's talking about tire management, it's so tough on the material, on the drivers as well, of course, but what is it like out there, it being so hot?
Yeah, it's tough on the neck because all the corners go the wrong way. It's not what we're used to, but I really enjoy it. I mean, it's a high-speed track, it's a natural track limits track, so I like that. And yeah, all in all, it's about having a good rhythm and a good flow, and in quali we had it. I hope we have it now as well.
Well, fingers are crossed. Thank you so much, Thomas. Best of luck for the race. And yeah, that was interesting what he said, 13 turns all in all. And yeah, they're going to be shaken up a little bit, and so will we, because it's going to be an exciting race, that's for sure. Now hold on tight and hear your commentators enjoy the race at the Sachsenring.
Great stuff. Thanks very much indeed, Verena. You can go and get an ice cream now and cool down a bit. And Thomas Preining just making the point there. Anti-clockwise circuit, 13 turns, 11 of them left-handers. You've only got 2 right-hand turns, and they're the 2 slowest turns on the lap at turns 1 and 3, both early on. So with all these left-handers, all of the wear and tear is on the right-hand side tyres, the Pirelli tyres that they use. It's a pretty abrasive circuit as well. And speaking to Jack Aitken after qualifying, he was saying once you've done a few laps on the tyres, they drop off a cliff. He said it can be 1 to 2 seconds a lap slower suddenly, and you think, God, the car feels horrible, but then they level off and they'll stay at that level for the rest of the stint. But time management and getting the right pit stop, and perhaps using the undercut in the pit stop, could be a key thing here, with a mandatory pit stop in the middle 20 minutes of the race. Right, we're about 7 minutes away from the start of racing. The championship leader then is Kelvin van der Linde, 140 points, but his gap has been reduced slightly after qualifying because Milko Bortolotti picked up a championship point for qualifying in 3rd. Although he starts 2nd, he gets the points for 3rd. So the gap is down to just 6 points between them, with Maro Engel 12 adrift in 3rd place. There is Sheldon van der Linde with work to do from the middle of the grid. And then Jordan Pepper, an excellent debut so far. He's standing in for Christian Engelhardt in the Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini, the gold and black liveried TGI car, and qualified in 8th place did Jordan Pepper. So fantastic job from him. There is Maro Engel before he showered himself with cold water to try and stay cool. He had a horrible weekend here last year with contact on lap 1 last year from Ricardo Feller, and contact on lap 1 of race 2 last year from Kelvin van der Linde. So he's out of both races, but the driver in the championship fight very much here as we look forward to race 1. Welcome everybody then to the Sachsenring as we get set for race 1, round 11 of the championship, the 6th weekend of DTM 2024. We've got 162 points still up for grabs, and there's only 12 points between the top 3 in the championship. We're in the east of Germany, around about 20 kilometres from the city of Chemnitz, and we've only had 7 DTM races ever at this circuit, the first of which was back in the year 2000. Anti-clockwise circuit, incredibly fast, just over 3.5 kilometres long and very undulating as well. Big crowds always come to support the racing here, and it was Klaus Ludwig that took the first ever victory in a DTM race at this circuit back in 2000, 24 years ago. And there was a Mercedes victory last year as well, and that came for one of the drivers you heard from on the grid earlier on, Lukas Stolz, who starts 3rd on the grid for this race. And that was the last time we had a Mercedes win in the DTM here a year ago. Can they get their first win of the season? We had other drivers working their way through to the top of the podium here. In the early 2000s, Laurent Ayala was a winner at the Sachsenring for the Abt Sportsline team on the way to the championship title in 2002. We had a 21-year break before we finally came back here last year with the new format of DTM. And the winners last year were Mirko Bortolotti on Sunday, and on Saturday last year it was Lukas Stolz that took the victory. And Jack Aitken and Mirko Bortolotti make up your front row for the first race of the weekend, ahead of Lukas Stolz and Arjun Maini, Maro Engel, and then with a grid penalty, Thomas Preininger next up. Thierry Vermeulen and Jordan Pepper are on row 4. Nicky Tim and the championship leader Kelvin van der Linde round out the top 10, ahead of Lucas Auer and Marco Wittmann. Sheldon van der Linde, winner last time out at the Nürburgring, ahead of Luca Engstler. Then it's Max Powell and Clement Schmidt. On the penultimate row, Ayenjan Nguyen, who got a podium here last year, and Ricardo Feller, Ben Durr, and then René Rast, the 3-time champion, the driver 5th in the standings. Didn't go well in qualifying and has a 5-place grid penalties right at the back of the field. So we've got Aitken and Bortolotti on the front row. It's actually a reversal of the front row of the grid from last year on the Sunday, where Bortolotti was on pole and Aitken started second. It wasn't a good weekend in the end for Jack Aitken 12 months ago. He was quick, but he got caught up in 2 incidents in race 1. He had damage to his radiator and had to retire. And in race 2, he got a puncture and had to retire. But he's due a win here, and he starts on pole position after Thomas Preining's 5-place grid penalty, putting back from pole to 6th on the grid. So then we're all set to go. I'm in the commentary box overlooking the start-finish line, and directly opposite me, Max Powell's Lamborghini, and just behind that, the pit lane, and just above it, the crowd on top of the garage roof. Absolutely packed here. It's a really busy Saturday afternoon at the Sachsenring. Beautiful weather. There's a slight breeze here, but that will be of absolutely no use to the drivers. It's going to be a hot one for them, with temperatures pushing 60 degrees in the cockpits of the cars, and a 60-minute plus 1 lap race. So hello everybody, welcome to the Sachsenring. I'm Chris Hartley, and in the commentary box alongside me for the race, it's good afternoon to Brian Oliver.
Good afternoon, Chris. Good afternoon to everybody who's watching around the world. We know you are going to be entertained at this, the most entertaining of circuits. A big undulation, tough on tyres, blind crests. As Thomas Preining put it so well, natural track limits. If you get it wrong, you are in the gravel trap. You cannot run wide on this circuit. I think for this race, race 11 of the 16 race season, the first trick is going to be surviving turns 1, 2, and 3. Often we get controversial starts here at the Sachsenring. Get around that first lap, you're going to be in a position to score points this afternoon. It is hot, and we are ready to go.
Xavier Schlager, cup winner in Germany, the Austrian footballer who plays for RB Leipzig, holds aloft the Start Your Engines board, one of the guests this weekend of the Abt Sportsline team. And so the grid is cleared. They'll do 1 formation lap, then it'll be the rolling start, and 60 minutes plus 1 lap of racing. A mandatory pit stop in the middle third of the race, the middle 20 minutes of the race. Where you have to change all of your tyres, but you cannot make a mandatory pit stop if there's a full course yellow or a safety car. You can come into the pits, but it won't count as your mandatory stop. There, then the championship standings, as I say, still 162 points up for grabs, and the gap down to just 6 points between van der Linde and Bortolotti, after Bortolotti picked up a championship point for qualifying in the top 3. He has qualified in the top 3 more than anybody else now, and he's also picked up, qualifying-wise this year, 14 points. So it's equivalent of more than a 4th place finish for Mirko Bortolotti, just on the points that he's got from qualifying. He has yet, though, Brian, to win a race in 2024. But does that matter?
It really doesn't, because as you said this morning, at the end of the season, and when we look in the history books, people don't remember who won the races, they remember who won the championships. It is conceivable that Mirko Bortolotti could become the 2024 champion without winning a race. Kelvin van der Linde, the points leader, will want to do something about that. He is starting in the carbon fibre zone mid-pack. He will want to survive the first few corners. He'll want to push forwards because he knows his main opponent in the championship is starting on the front row.
Yeah, we had a big coming together in race 2 at the start of race 2 on the Sunday last year, which brought about a red flag, and it was in that run down from turn 1 down to turn 3, which is the first kind of braking zone on the lap. The first sector is the tight, twisty sector. They go downhill from turn 1 all the way down to turn 3. By the time you got to turn 3, all the right-handers are done. You're left, left, left all the way after that. And then it climbs uphill through turns 4, 5 and 6, and then really quick in the middle of the lap, you're going into turn 7 at the top of the hill at 200 kilometres an hour, knock it down to 4th gear through there. You build up to 230 kilometres an hour out the back through turn 5, drop down to 4th gear through turn 8. You downhill then underneath a bridge, you go back uphill to turns 9 and 10. And Brian, there's a blind crest there, isn't there? So you just can't see the track at all until you get there. And at that point, you're doing about 210 kilometres an hour.
Yes, it takes a bit of courage and bravery to keep your foot buried on it on a blind crest. There's a reason why this track is nicknamed the Mini Nordschleife. Mirko Bortolotti's on team radio already.
So remember, you're coming up to turn 11, quit board. From there on, go in position, no more weaving.
Just a reminder of procedure for the start for Mirko Bortolotti from his race engineer at SSR Performance, last year's championship runner-up. And turn 12, which they've just come out of, lots of drivers caught out that turn in free practice this morning. Worth mentioning as well, Ricardo Feller apparently picked up a puncture early on in the qualifying session, so that was why he was running out of sync with everybody else and is at the back of the field. Here we go then, the first race of the weekend here at the Sachsenring. Round 11 of DTM 2024 is go. The lights go out. Aitken on pole in the Ferrari has got a good start. Bortolotti is already tucked in behind him. It's going to be a squabble between Arjun Maine and Lukas Stoltz. Side by side for third place as they're going to turn 1. Stoltz in the black Mercedes has got the inside line. Maro Engel is trying to come through. This is on board with Arjun Maine, and Maro Engel is just about to go around the outside of him as well. He'll get the inside line for turn 3, and Maro, third in the championship. A great start. He's up to 4th place. Coming under more fire is Arjun Maine. He's got alongside him the reigning champion in the Porsche, Thomas Preining, and that coming through is Kelvin van der Linde. He's picked a couple of places up at the start of the race as well. So Kelvin making a good start, the South African, in the AB Sportsline Audi. They make their way now through the mid-section of the lap. Aitken in the lead, Bortolotti in 2nd place. A great view back here at Luca Engstler in the middle of the pack. He's trying to come up through the order as they fight their way through. Marco Wittmann has got some damage to the BMW and he's smoking and has got the front right wing clipped up into the air. That bodywork rubbing on the tyre is causing the smoke. We've seen Marco winning a race this year with smoke pouring from the car, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to continue on in that without going into the pits. He'll possibly be asked to come in with a black and orange flag by the officials, but if he's not careful, he's going to pick up a puncture as well. So Marco Wittmann tumbling down the order, and I think probably pit bound there, just in front of Nicky Tim, as at the end of lap 1, Jack Aitken comes through in the lead. Bortolotti 2nd, Stoltz in 3rd, Engel up to 4th, Maine up to 5th, and up to 6th place for Kelvin van der Linde. Look, he's got ahead of Thomas Preining as well.
Let me know if you can continue. If not, box, you decide.
Well, we
see. I hope it plays off.
One thing we know, Brian, is that unless the thing's falling apart, Marco Wittmann is going to carry on, isn't he?
Yeah, memories of Zandvoort. Look at René Rast in the blue BMW. To remind you, he started stone last. He's already up to 14th place, making a move on his teammate Sheldon van der Linde as well. We always said that René Rast with his back against the wall is a dangerous René Rast, and he's proving that as he pushes his way forwards. At the start, we saw Ayn Chang-Nguyen breaking rank a little bit early. I wonder if the stewards might want to take a look at that. But at the moment, Marco Wittmann, he'll be thinking about Zandvoort, seems to make the car go faster the more bits he sheds, so he'll hope that wing departs soon and he can carry on his way.
Yeah, Sheldon van der Linden now comes under fire from the second SSR Performance Lamborghini of Nicky Tim, who dropped back on the first lap of the race. They come out of turn 11 down the waterfall. Look at René Rast carrying the speed. He's got the momentum. He's going to throw the BMW down the inside of Nicky Tim as they hit their brakes. The gap doesn't quite open up though. They both run wide. Others run further wide behind them. They head up towards turn 13, the last corner. Steep incline here as you go through the apex, side by side again. And René Rast has got the inside line. Takes about 10 seconds to get down the start-finish straight. The BMW noses in front as it comes past the commentary box. He's on the outside line, but he's a clear car length ahead. And René Rast should be up to 13th place. And look at this, the two other Schubert BMWs going side by side ahead. Sheldon van der Linden has just dived up the inside of Marco Wittmann. He's trying to get 11th place away from his teammate. Marco with a misshapen BMW, still carrying on though, has not yet given that place up.
Also, Max Powell in there, he was taking advantage of that situation. So he's another driver who's been pushing forwards on his home track. So Max Powell getting stuck in there, but René Rast, really the man on a mission at the moment. Fastest car on the track is Kelvin van der Linde, 120.252. So Kelvin van der Linde up to 6th place. Let's hear from him.
Mate, like really bad.
Copy.
That was really bad, mate.
Copy, cars okay question?
Yeah, they're driving for Engel.
That driving from Engel, he's just said there. We're seeing a replay of a bit of light contact between Kelvin van der Linde and Arjun Maini, but Kelvin starting that transmission saying that was bad, didn't like that, and that was a replay of him trying to dive down the inside of Arjun Maini but not quite getting through. So I just wonder if he's mistaken the Maini car for the Engel car there, because Maro Engel's a couple of seconds up the road, isn't he, in 4th place. So there goes the white Mercedes. A great start for Maro Engel, and unlike last year, he's got past lap 1. He never managed to do that in either of the races last year. Look at this, Sheldon van der Linde coming under fire now from Luca Engstler, who's also got damage to his car. He's got the rear bumper hanging off that Lamborghini, hasn't he?
And if that doesn't depart on its own, he may well get the black and orange flag calling him into the pits to have it sorted. So he'll want that bumper to part company with the car. There's remnants of cars hanging off with bits and pieces coming around the corner. So Marco Wittmann and also Luca Engstler with that damage. It's probably not going to help the handling very much apart from anything else.
On the last lap, Jordan Pepper managed to get ahead of Thomas Preining, so he's up to 7th place now on his debut, standing in for Christian Engelhardt. He's missed 3 weekends now, having had a knee operation. He's here this weekend, Christian. I saw him giving a guided tour of the Grasser Racing garage earlier on. Didn't get a chance to catch up with him and see when he thought he'd be back, but certainly the car is in safe hands this weekend. Jordan Pepper, the South African, former VW Sirocco R Cup champion, Bathurst 12-hour race winner, and friend of the van der Lindes, doing a fantastic job here to be running that Lamborghini, the Grasser racing car, in 7th place and in the points. This is the green Porsche of Ayanjan Nguyen trying to get at the inside of Max Powell on the way into turn 13. Ayanjan, who finished on the podium here last year, qualified on the front row of the grid for one of the races as well. Still his only podium in the DTM in his 2nd season. The Turkish driver flashing the lights but not quite able to get through. Nicky Tim just behind is very late on the brakes as well. So a bit of a queue forming up there behind Marco Wittmann on the tail end of the points for 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th and 17th. They're all line astern. Here they come, led by the green BMW, the 2014 and 2016 champion.
Nobody's getting away, are they? The last place runner is Ben Durr at the moment. He's just 13 seconds back from race leader. But Jack Aitken, he's got about half a second, well, make that 6/10 now on Mirko Bortolotti. But we heard him say it before the race started. It's all about the tyres and preserving them. And if you go too hard too soon, it's going to drop off a cliff. So he'll be thinking the bigger picture. He'll be thinking about preserving those tyres right up until the first pit window opens, the only pit window. Right, having a look at the start here once again, a replay. And the green Porsche at the back was certainly broke rank very early, but everybody got away cleanly. We got around the first few corners, so we did better than last year, but almost a McLaren ending up in the gravel. Did end up in the gravel, but kept it going. So Clement Schmid doing well to keep the orange McLaren pointing in the right direction.
Yeah, he was on the brunt of that contact between Marco Wittmann and Luca Engstler, which is why the BMW and the Lamborghini, those two drivers, are missing components. A black and orange flag has now been given to Luca Engstler. That means he's got to leave the circuit, repair the car before he's allowed to back out, and that's because the rear bumper is hanging off, and the officials say that's dangerous. If it comes off and hits another car or leaves debris on the track, that's going to be the problem. And there was the contact. Nicky Tim was involved in that as well. It's basically 3 cars trying to fit into one space, And that helps suggest why Nicky Tim dropped down a bit on his first lap of the race as well, to outside of the points. He qualified in the top 10. He's down in 16th place at the moment. So Luca Engstler, I'm afraid, is headed for the pits. René Rast has just got ahead of him as well. So René from the back of the field on a proper charge. There is the blue BMW. He's up to 11th place now. And there is Luca Engstler, who is going to be requested to come into the pits. And that's, I think, what we're about to hear on his team radio.
You're half free of the car. The half free of the car is gone, Luca. We will have an issue at the pit stop anyway. We will stay in the pit window and try to solve it.
So that's the delayed transmission. So Luca Engstler clearly unaware of the fact that his rear bumper's hanging off. What they asked me to come in for, and I can't wait until the pit window. Is going to have to come in within 3 laps. Just what King Ian Nguyen gone past the the commentary box window and past the pit lane, right on the tail of Max Powell there, 14th and 15th. I think Powell might just about be able to fend him off on the way into turn 1. There is another stricken car, and that is the green BMW, the Scheffler back car of Marco Wittmann, currently in 13th place at the head of this group. Max Powell, you're on board with now, and he is about to lose that place, is he? To Ian Nguyen. No, not quite. Nguyen flashing the lights again, has to get on the brakes to avoid running into the back of the rim as they made their way through turns 4 and 5. Up the top of the hill through turn 6 they now go, heading towards this very quick left-hander at turn 7. They go into that at 200 kilometres an hour. The BMW of Marco Wittmann goes up to 230 kilometres an hour now, and 5th gear before he slows down for that left-hander at turn 8, still 180 kilometres an hour through there. Then uphill this blind entry into turns 9 and 10, and then you're about to go down the waterfall. And Brian, at the end of this downhill run, there'll be nearly 260 kilometres an hour.
Yeah, then the heavy braking, but not getting it wrong. This is the corner where we've seen so many cars going wide, but a good exit out of 12, up the steep hill to turn 13. And if you can get alongside your opponent coming out of 13, it gives you the inside line going in towards turn 1. Marco Wittmann looks to be struggling for pace as a result of that damage. He hasn't received a black and orange flag, so clearly the race stewards don't feel as though that is a hazard in particular.
And Nguyen again has a look at the inside of Max Powell, throws it up the inside. Did he get through? Possibly so. We'll find out in a moment. But for now, Luca Engstler having the rear of his Lamborghini removed before he's released out.
Copy affirm, we have the box now, Luca. We will try to remove the rear bumper. We will try to remove it. The problem is that the air check valve is for sure broken. Everything is destroyed in the rear on your car. We will remove the bumper and you go out on track for test race, and we will box that later at the pit window again.
Well, they've done it. They've removed it and they've got him out, and a very frustrated Luca Engstler screaming on the radio. So drama for him, I'm afraid, but at least they've got the car sorted and back out. Now, did Nguyen get through or not? I think he probably did, didn't he? This is the onboard. The Turkish driver dives down the inside of Max Powell and gains the place. That was a lovely bit of overtaking, so that should put him now up into 14th place in the second of the Manthey EMA Porsches. Quickest man on the track last time around was Jack Aitken. The second quickest driver was Maro Engel, and Maro took a couple of tenths out of Lukas Stoltz on the last lap, but he's not had a great lap that time around. A 120.7 for Engel, a 120.2 for Stoltz, so the gap goes back out to nearly a second between the pair of them. Two McLarens look going side by side here. Clement Schmidt and Ben Durr on the way into the first corner. Rainer Durr, the team boss, closes his eyes. Please don't hit each other, he says. Through they come down the inside. Ben Durr gains the position, so Clement Schmidt drops back behind his younger teammate, the rookie.
Yes, fighting with your teammate, just don't drive into each other, that's for sure. There's Marco Wittmann, who's in that 12th place still, and appears to be just struggling a little bit for pace as a result of that damage. The car's in front of him a couple of seconds quicker, and a bit of a queue lining up behind. We're just over 8 minutes away from the pit window opening, and then there'll be a 20-minute pit window in which every car will need to come in for a mandatory stop and tyre change. There is the 11th place. Make that now 12th place, Marco Wittmann.
Yeah, Ian Nguyen is much quicker, isn't he, in the Porsche? So the Turkish driver on a charge here. Look how much speed he carries coming out of turn 11, down through the waterfall. But I don't think he's going to be close enough to have a lunge down into turn 12. But at the back, that's Lucas Auer trying to get back up the order. He had a rough weekend here 12 months ago as well, with only a point scored. He's side by side with Ricardo Feller, who's having a really rough time of it. The last time Ricardo was this far back down the grid was at the Red Bull Ring last year, and he started 26th last year and finished, remember, third. He had a fantastic drive, but the car just not working for him. The McLaren side by side once again with Clement Schmidt on the inside of Ben Durr. Clement's in the 85 car, Ben in the 25 car. I think Clemens is going to get there first this time, so they're having a little duel with Ricardo Fella just off the pace. I don't know what's quite going on with Ricardo's car this weekend. No, we learnt from the team after qualifying that he picked up a puncture, front right puncture, early on in the quali session. I say early on, nobody really bothered going out for the first 10 minutes. It was a 7-minute session in the end, but that was why he was out of kilter with everybody else, running around on his end right at the end of the session, but he still couldn't get a good lap time in, and he's struggling at the moment. So something not right with that car for Ricardo Fella. We know he's a strong driver. He's normally a strong qualifier.
Whatever problems he's got, it's certainly not affecting Kelvin van der Linde. A solid job up into 6th place. It still means that if the race were to finish now, Mirko Bortolotti would leapfrog him in the points championship. But from 10th on the grid up to 6th place, Kelvin van der Linde doing a solid job. Long way to go yet, 46.5 minutes plus 1 lap. So plenty of racing still to come. Jack Aitken at the moment has it under control. 2.446 is the gap between first and second.
Sheldon van der Linde goes past the commentary box window in 10th place, trying to home in on Thierry Vermeulen. Sheldon's issue for this race is that he won the last race at the Nürburgring, which means you carry 20 kilograms of success ballast into the next race. They don't have to use it in quali, but as last time's winner, there's an extra 20 kilograms of ballast on board that BMW of Sheldon van der Linde. Maro Engel was second last year and has second last time out and has 10 kilograms of success ballast on board. And Marco Wittmann's got 5 kilograms of success ballast on board the car that you're now looking at on replay, because he finished third last time out. Replays of Arjen Guwen battling away, and he's had a good run from near the back of the grid as well. His next target is to try and find a way past that BMW of Marco Wittmann to get himself up to 12th. The BMWs are currently 10th, 11th and 12th, the 3 Schubert cars, but not that close together. There's Jack Aitken then coming through the picture, the British driver, Scottish dad, South Korean mom, recently married, and planning his honeymoon next, trying to find a gap in his busy winter schedule, he said, to find a bit of a break. So Jack pushing on, as I say, really quick here last year, but also very unlucky. Had contact, which caused a puncture in race 2 from Ricardo Fella, and Ricardo got a post-race penalty for that. He did finish on a podium. He got that podium taken away, and that went in the end to Franck Pereira. And look at this, Maro Engel. He's about to go around the outside of Lukas Stoltz. Is he on the way to turn 1? He's going to try. Look at this, Maro Engel all the way around the outside and gets past Lukas Stoltz, and that puts him now up into 3rd place. And remember, he's 3rd in the championship, and at the moment he's outscoring Kelvin van der Linde, the championship leader, who is back in 6th. But they're both being outscored by Mirko Bortolotti. At the moment he's on course for 20 points for finishing in 2nd place. Maro Engel would get 16 for finishing in 3rd if it stayed like this, and Kelvin van der Linde is 6th, 10 points for 6th place, 10 fewer than Mirko Bortolotti, which means, as it stands, Mirko would lead the championship by 4 points after the first race of the weekend.
Maro looking very dialed in, isn't he? Oh, there's confirmation of your maths. Top job done there. Maro up into 3rd place if the race finished now. Of course, we've still got 3/4 of an hour racing to go yet, so an awful lot can change. But Maro Engel round the outside of Lukas Stoltz, very good friends. They very often share the same driving seat in various racing series, but all going for broke individually this weekend. And Maro Engel, that was a great move. As we look again, heading into turn 1, Luca has the inside line covered off. Maro just says, I'm going to go around the outside of you. I don't think Luca put up too much of a fight. He probably realised that the number 130 had more pace, more grip at this point in the race. Around towards turn 3 would be the next corner, the Castrol Omega turn, but he got the job done by then.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Maro Engel got past him a lap ago. He's already a 2.5 seconds clear of him as we go back to the battle between the Ferrari of Thierry Vermeulen. Side by side with him is Sheldon van der Linde. Down into turn 3, the BMW is up the inside and shovels his way through. Great move that from Sheldon van der Linde, which I reckon he set up on the exit to turn 1. Thierry tried to stay with him but couldn't, and so he's dealt with one BMW. And then he looks in the mirrors and sees another bright blue one coming after him, which is René Rast having a storming drive here up into 11th place. So that puts Sheldon van der Linde 9th, Thierry Vermeulen 10th, and René Rast next to have a go with the lights ablaze. He has got the bit between his teeth here, hasn't he, Brian?
Yeah, the BMWs feel like they're coming alive a bit as this race is progressing. So Sheldon van der Linde, René Rast, Marco Wittmann, all very much in the same bit of track, albeit with Thierry Vermeulen now in the middle of them. Further back, behind Marco Wittmann, Ein Chang-Gun has his progress has been halted. He's discovered just how wide a BMW is around the Sachsenring circuit.
Yeah, the BMW's not that strong a track for them last year. A couple of 8th place finishes 12 months ago for René Rast and a best of 6th for Sheldon van der Linde. And they got very similar BOP to what they had last year, the balance of performance. So I think they're 5 kilograms heavier than they were last year, but they've got slightly more tweak of the boost since the Nürburgring in the mid-range of the cars. Let's hear now from one of the BMW drivers, Sheldon van der Linde.
Good job, mate. Next car in front is Preining.
Sweet and simple, doing well, keep it up, isn't he just? So Sheldon van der Linde, 9th place, trying to bridge about a 1 second gap now to Thomas Preining, who after that great qualifying on pole position, struggling a bit now, isn't he? Started 6th because of his 5th place grid penalty, dropped to 7th on lap 1, then dropped back behind Jordan Pepper a couple of laps into the race. So only 8th place at the moment. There he is in the bright yellow number 91 Porsche, and Manthey EMA, who are teams champions from last year as well. Their driver still fighting, still very much involved in the championship fight. We could do with closing the gap this weekend. Had a 2nd and a 4th here 12 months ago, Thomas Preining. But look who's ahead of him, Jordan Pepper. And who's Jordan good mates with? That's right, Kelvin van der Linde. So I want to keep these guys behind him. He's got a South African in front and a South African behind Thomas Preining.
Oh, you're such an old cynic, aren't you? I can't believe Jordan Pepper would play the team game. Here's Clemens Schmid. Let's listen to his team radio.
Slowly retire the car. It's too dangerous on this high-speed track running without the underfloor.
Wow.
Yeah, and the trays come apart. You can see it flapping in the rear of the car there, the McLaren. So was this from the contact here? Quite possibly it was, wasn't it? Engstler, well, Tim, Engstler and Wittmann all coming together. And Clemens was just in the wrong place, really. It wasn't really his accident, was it? He just got nerfed as being on the outside. You're always at risk when you're on the outside, and you're usually the driver in the car that comes off worst when there is a collision, because you are where all the momentum carries to the outside of the corner, of course. Right, Jack Aitken leads, 3.9 seconds ahead of Mirko Bortolotti. Mirko is 1.7 seconds clear of Maro Engel, but that gap is coming down. Maro was 4/10 quicker on the previous lap. Lukas Stolz is already 2 seconds behind Maro Engel, having dropped behind him about 3 laps ago. Arjun Mining is the next Mercedes in 5th place, having lost his record of finishing in the points in all of the races at the Nürburgring a couple of weeks ago. He dropped from 5th to 10th in the championship, but Arjun's having his best season in DTM. It's been great to see his resurgence, and he's there in 5th place. Maro Engel and Lukas Stolz, I think, have come into the pits right at the start of the pit window. Yes, they have, and they're not the only ones. Kelvin van der Linde is in, Jordan Pepper is in, and Thierry Vermeulen in as well. So early pit stops here. So Maro Engel and the team at Windward, who are leading the pit stop challenge this year for the best pit stops overall. You get 3 points for a quickest pit stop in a race, 2 for the second best, and 1 for the third best. And it is Windward who run Maro Engel that are leading that. They've come in early, so Engel is in, Stolz has come in as well. Kelvin van der Linde, Jordan Pepper, Thierry Vermeulen in the Ferrari, as you can see. Marco Wittmann, Nicky Tim and Clement Schmidt all in right at the start of the pit window. They're going to have a very long second stint, though, of around about 42, 43 minutes in this 60-minute plus 1 lap race.
The teams that have been doing their sums, trying to work out where the car will come in, where it would come out on track, in theory, to come out on a bit of open track and maybe get an undercut on the cars around them. But when everybody comes in together, it can throw those sums up in the air a bit. Marco Wittmann has been in. The team have decided not to do anything about that flapping front wing, so that continues. Nicky Tim impatient to get past the BMW. Marco Wittmann says, "You're not coming past, mate," and shuts the door in his face.
Yeah, and the officials obviously decided that is less of a danger, that front right flapping wing on the BMW, than the rear bumper of Luke Engstler's car, which is why we wasn't asked to come in. Ooh, this was tight, wasn't it? Maro Engel just snuck out, just kept behind him, Lukas Stolz. But bearing in mind, coming into the pits, Maro was 2 seconds ahead. So Lukas Stolz must have had a very good pit stop there overall to close the gap down. More piling into the pits now, including Mirko Bortolotti and Arjun Mining. So Bortolotti, second in the championship in. Last year on the Saturday, the car spun its wheels when it was up on the jacks, and he got a penalty for that. which dropped him down in the end to 9th place. But no dramas this time. Good stop for HRT as well. And Arjun Maini is out just in front of Thomas Preining, who's also come in. So Preining, I reckon, has clawed up some time there, hasn't he, in that pit window? Because Manthey are also one of the top teams in terms of the pit stops this year.
They are mega quick, aren't they? The teammate of Mirko Bortolotti, Nicky Tim, is under investigation. We were on board with him when he came out of the pits, and the stewards think he may have crossed a white line at the pit exit. So there could be some bad news incoming for car number 94 if they look at it and see that he has done that.
So the numbers on your screen that are lit up green, they're the ones that have made their pit stops. Bortolotti is the net leader from Engel, from Stolz, and the overall race leader now comes in. Jack Aitken, this really steep climb. Must be the steepest pit lane entrance in the world, I reckon, at the Sachsenring. I'm not kidding you, it's a really steep climb up. Tried to run up it yesterday, was going backwards in the end. So Aitken comes in and makes his stop, a really big stop then for the Emil Frey Racing team. Change the rears first, then the fronts. Only 6 can work on the car. Should, if it all goes according to plan, happen in less than 7 seconds. Jack Aitken about to be released. Oh, it's not going to take 7 seconds. That's 8 or 9 seconds, I reckon. And Bortolotti's just coming into turn 13, but Jack's got to get his tyres up to temperature with no tyre warmers involved, and he's still yet to come out of the pit lane exit. There you can see Bortolotti in the background. Aitken is still going to be the net leader. There is Bortolotti coming in next, but Bortolotti will gobble up quite a bit of that advantage while Jack Aitken gets his tyres up to temperature. He has, though, critically still kept the Lamborghini behind him, and then Engel and then Stolz. So effectively the top 4 as they were, but you've still got 6 cars that have yet to make their pit stops.
Oh, that was a tense moment for Emil Frey Racing. It looked a little bit like Jack had overshot his pit box a bit as well. But anyway, they got it done, got him out on track. There's 4 wheels on it. They're all pointing in the right direction, and he is the net leader at the moment in that 7th place, but he stayed critically ahead of Mirko Bortolotti, Mauro Engel just behind them. Our new race leader at the moment, Sheldon van der Linde, René Rast in 2nd place. They've both yet to make their pit stops, but if they can stay out on some open track and put in some hot laps, this might move them up even further. Having another look here at a replay, and Thomas Preining, let's hear his team radio and hear what's been going on.
Yes, I would be Kelvin, I would have to give 10 positions back for this.
Yeah, that was Kelvin van der Linde diving up the inside of him, wasn't it?
Copy, heads down, full focus.
Yeah, forget about it now. Get on with the job, he says. So Kelvin van der Linde through. Olaf Manthey there, who's seen it, done it all. Former DTM race, the team boss of Thomas Preining there. No further action for crossing the white line at the pit exit, which was being looked at for Thomas Preining. Now, the absolute best first sector of the entire race has just gone to Thierry Vermeulen on his new Pirelli tyres. So back in 15th place at the moment, but he'll be up into the top 10 once the front runners make their pit stops. We normally get on the timing screen the stationary pit stop times, which are, the really good ones can be 6.3 seconds. A very good one is 7 seconds or less. We haven't got that data today. It's not working for whatever reason, but I can tell you that the overall pit stop time for Jack Aitken, including running into and out of the pit lane, was 37 seconds, and that's the slowest that we've had, with the exception of Luca Engstler, who had that rear body work problem. So everybody else, 34 or 35 seconds, and 37 seconds for Jack Aitken. So he lost a big chunk of time in that whole pit lane venture, and most of it was while he was stationary. So at least a couple of seconds lost as Sheldon van der Linde now comes in from what is 2nd place. Where will he emerge? He was running in 9th before the pits happened. Looks like a good stop for the Schubert team. So the BMW is released, and see him coming through now over the pit wall, and over the start-finish line comes Jack Aitken. So he's going to, I think, progress up the order. He's not going to be in 9th, is he? There's 1, 2, 3, 4. He's going to be 5th of the pit stoppers, or maybe not. It's still coming out of the pits. It's going to be tight. So Maini comes through as well. Then van der Linde, then Preining, and then Pepper, and then Vermeulen. He'll tuck back in behind Thierry Vermeulen. So I thought he gained positions. He's actually lost out in the end, because he did all that work to get past Thierry Vermeulen, didn't he, before the pit window happened. And he's come out, and who's he staring at the back of? Thierry Vermeulen's Ferrari. He'll roll his eyes, look to the heavens and say, I've got to do all this again now.
You can see why there's a temptation to cross the white line on the exit of the pits, can't you? You can see the queue of cars coming, and you're all coming out of the pit lane. You're like, if I could just duck across here, I could block them. But no, he kept to the rules. He knew there would be a very big penalty incoming if he did cross that line. Rene Rast is the new race leader as a result of those stops. There's Jack Aitken, the leading stopping car. He will be greatly encouraged that Thierry Vermeulen is the quickest car on the track because he's driving something very similar indeed.
And Maro Engel has been working away at that gap between himself and Bortolotti for a net second place. So the white Mercedes of Maro Engel has got the gap down to just over half a second now, and there they are fighting effectively for second place once the pit stops are done. You've got Jack Aitken coming up to Ricardo Feller as they go over the start line. So Jack Aitken flashes the lights as he goes past the commentary box. Come on, get out of the way, he says. This is actually for position, but Feller is on older tyres. He hasn't made his pit stop. Aitken gets through, dives down the inside of him for fourth place, but he's effectively the race leader. So Feller going long here, trying something. He's got to try something from where he was. And this a replay of what? Of Maro Engel pushing it a bit too deep, going out of turn 13 and putting a couple of Pirellis through the gravel, but keeping fully committed and his foot buried on that accelerator.
Maro Engel getting up close and personal with Mirko Bortolotti, as we see a replay of that, is good news for Jack Aitken, because Bortolotti, wanting to be the hunter, suddenly becoming the hunted as he sees his car getting full, his rearview mirror getting full of Mercedes. Here is our race leader, Rene Rast, leading the way by about 15 seconds over Max Powell, but he still has to make a pit stop. He's still got another 11.5 minutes in which he has to come in, so he's got plenty of time, and maybe they put the best rubber on that car for the start of the race and he's just going to make hay while the sun shines, literally, but he's running very much out on his own at the moment. Just saw him heading in towards turn 1. You can see the gap back. It's what 15 seconds look like, back towards Max Powell.
Yeah, and Lucas Stoltz is now going to try and find a way past Ricardo Feller as he comes towards turn 1. And on new tyres, he should, like the others have done, be able to dive down the inside of the Audi. It's going to be tight, though. He brakes late, but Ricardo, in fairness, gives him enough room. So Feller leaves the door open. He knows it's going to be a losing battle on older tyres. So Feller, still to make his pit stop, drops back another position. You've got Rast, Powell and Auer as the top 3. Haven't made their pit stops. And Feller, who's slipped back to 8th place now, still to make a pit stop.
Come on, mate. We take him to school on track. We take him to school. Come on.
Yeah, school has just started again, hasn't it, in the UK? Yeah, summer's over, everybody. Right, let's school him. He might have given you a bit of contact on the way through, but now you can get your own back, says his race engineer. So firing up Thomas Preining. But first, he's got to stay with him because Kelvin van der Linde is keeping him just about half a car length at bay at the moment. So these two fighting on track here. They're 10th and 11th, but they will move up to 7th and 8th once the top 3 make their pit stops.
The stewards did take a look at the moment when these two cars got together earlier, Kelvin van der Linde and Thomas Preining. They decided no further action, so we saw that little bit of contact. They decided there was no penalties to be dished out there, but the night is young, as they say. They may yet have something else to look at when these two get together.
Yeah, that's right. In fact, they'll move up to 6th and 7th, won't they? Because we've got Ricardo Feller just ahead of them as well, who's got to come into the pits. Here you go, though. Thomas Preining gets a good run coming out of turn 13 on the attack. You look back from the current championship leaders, Audi. Kelvin van der Linde, 5 wins around the Sachsenring in the ADAC GT Masters Championship, which is a record. So DTM in its current GT3 format might have only been here last year, but Kelvin van der Linde knows this place, loves this place, and has won here many times in these type of cars. Looking back from his car now as he climbs up the hill through turns 4, 5 and 6, still being menaced and harassed here by the Porsche of the reigning champion Thomas Preining, the Austrian, who'll be absolutely looking forward to the next weekend because that's going to be his home race at the Red Bull Ring in a couple of weeks' time near Spielberg. Let's hear now from the champion, Thomas Preining.
Moving on the braking, moving on the braking.
Come on, mate, heads down, we take him on track, take him on track.
Nothing like a pep talk. So he's moving under braking is what Thomas Preining is saying there, which he's suggesting he's not allowed. That's not really him letting his engineer know that. That's him letting race control know that, because they're listening on the team radios as well.
Every effort is made to try and get the advantage. Well, he's looking good there, isn't he? Up to turn 13, tucking up close, out onto the pit straight. Once again, he'll pick up something of a slipstream as they head past the pits. Kelvin van der Linde, what line will he take into turn 1? He's got the outside line covered at the moment. Ahead of him is Arjun Maini. Van der Linde goes to shut the door, but suddenly Thomas Preining has got the nose of that Porsche in there. Kelvin van der Linde fighting back. Once again, the two cars make contact. And Kelvin van der Linde getting his elbows out and relegating Thomas Preining back into the clutches of Jordan Pepper.
First day back at school then, so Kelvin van der Linde gets his elbows out. You're not coming past me, mate. He says his teammate moves out of the way. Ricardo Feller, that is for position, but Ricardo has yet to make his pit stop, so he's trying to stay out of this fight. And just before that, turn one, we saw Arjun Maini bravely diving his way down the inside of Ricardo. He's having a real horrible day here. Backs off and lets more through. So Ricardo Feller slowing down a lot here. Possibly pit bound and possibly headed for retirement. Here's a replay then. Preining versus Kelvin van der Linde. There was not a great deal of room there, and there's definitely a little bit of shoulder rubbing between the Porsche and the Audi. Two drivers, neither of them wanting to concede position. So great battles on track. Let's get some news now, though, down in the pit lane with Verena.
And I'm here with Luca Engstler. Unfortunately, the race had to end for you. You had an incident with Marco Wittmann, and unfortunately for you, it means the end of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's always difficult to start back in the pack. We had a very good start. I went through the pack, was already very close to the front runners, and then apparently there was a hit. To be honest, there were cars left and right, so I don't know really what happened.
What a shame. Thank you so much, though. Thank you, and back to you.
Thanks, Verena. A real disappointment for Luca Engstler, one of our 8 different race winners so far in the 2024 season. He got a podium recently at the Norris Ring as well. I saw him bravely mountain biking his way around the circuit last night, which was a steep old climb. I think it was him anyway. I was running myself, so I was trying to remain conscious, to be honest, but I think it was him. But that's the end of his race, I'm afraid. Let's get some team radio now from Kelvin.
Did I really get a warning for that now? Did I just get a warning for that?
Yes, we just received the warning.
So Kelvin van der Linde not happy with the teachers now. What? I got a warning. Why didn't he get a warning? We're both at it. So Kelvin has taken umbrage with that, hasn't he? Surely he can't give me a warning for that. He's been as bad as me. But they are being watched by the stewards, not for the first time. The trouble is they've brought the attention on themselves now because they've had a couple of moments, these two, haven't they?
Yes, and I can confirm that Kelvin van der Linde has indeed received a black and white flag, so he doesn't want too many of those. You can see how desperate Thomas Preining is. You saw him just weaving a bit, heading up into turn 13. He's not done with Kelvin van der Linde yet, so he's still wanting to challenge. The Porsche looking the quicker of the two cars, but finding a route past is a whole another issue. René Rast still leading the way, still some good lap times, 1:19.775 for our race leader, so not falling off the cliff quite yet.
No, and he's going to go right to the end of the pit window by looks of it, which has still got just over 5 minutes left. If you were to add 35 seconds onto his time, 35 seconds is the total pit stop time, including in and out of the pit lane. That would put him in and around 13th place, I reckon. So possibly dropping back a bit down the order, although you've still got Ricardo Feller to come in as well, haven't you? So yeah, 12th place, I reckon it would be. Max Powell has still to come into the pits. He's currently running in 3rd place. Jack Aitken has overtaken him on track. So Aitken, who is really the race leader, in 2nd place overall now in the Ferrari. The battle still raging on between Bortolotti and Engel for 2nd place. That gap is still pretty tight, and is the biggest battle that we've had so far in the race. Kelvin van der Linde versus Thomas Preining, who are basically fighting over 6th place once all the pit stops are done. And they've both shown the other that neither of them is prepared to give way or give up on this fight. So two very determined drivers locked together in the heat of battle here. And look in the background, just behind the pair of them, you've got the championship leader, you've got the reigning champion, and then you've got a debutant. Great job in that Lamborghini by Jordan Pepper. He's really doing fantastically well this weekend, isn't he?
Jordan Pepper looking very much at home, and he's certainly taken to that Lamborghini very well. And Christian Engelhardt will be looking on very frustrated. Right, finally into the pits, Ricardo Feller for his mandatory stop. But there's nothing very desperate going on here. This is looking pretty terminal, isn't it?
Yeah, he was slowing up a lot, wasn't he, on his way? And letting people come past him. And you could tell there was something not right with that car. Maybe there's been something not right with it all weekend long, because he just hasn't found any pace with that car. Bearing in mind the sister car has been doing pretty well at the hands of Kelvin van der Linde. You're looking back now at Lucas Auer from Max Powell's Lamborghini. So through they come, absolutely flying through, and that is because Max Powell has made his pit stop now, so he re-emerged in 16th place, just out of the point. 16th and 17th, these two. McLaren and Ben-Dur in the background, running in 18th place. They're the last 3 runners. And you've got then René Rast the last one to come in and make his pit stop, which is going to have to be soon because there's only 3 minutes or so of the pit window remaining. And he's going to be somewhere in the tail end of the points, just outside the top 10, Rene Rast. But he's going to have fresh tyres, and he's going to be going on the attack. So he'll be interesting to watch, ready for the last 15 or 20 minutes of the race as we go back on board now with Max Powell. You can hear the gravel there crunching underneath the tyres as he runs a bit wide.
Lucas Auer there as well, so they're fighting over 16th place, so not even for a points-paying position at the moment. In the background, Ben Dur is there as well, but Max Powell, the local driver, lives about 90 kilometres from here, has done many laps around the Sachsenring. Lucas Auer, fairly subdued afternoon in the Yellow Mamba. Right, looks like we're getting ready for our race leader to come into the pits. I think 3 times champion Rene Rast is about to peel off into the pit lane anytime now.
Yeah, he's 41 seconds ahead of Ayanjan Nguyen, so I reckon he should, if it all goes to plan, come out behind Sheldon van der Linde. So he'll come out up in 11th place, which I think is where he was in the first place, isn't it, before the pit window opened. So just got to get this right, Schubert, and they've been very good at their pit stops as well. Rears come off, fronts go on. Everything lined up perfectly, out he goes, and that was all very slickly done. So Jack Aitken, Mirko Bortolotti, Maro Engel come through. Lucas Stoltz, 4th in the picture, just about to turn into turn 1. He's got a big old gap back then to Arjun Maini. The next group, van der Linde, Priding, Pepper coming through, and indeed he does come in to the frame behind Sheldon van der Linde. So that'll be 11th place, and there's a big gap back to the green Porsche of Ayanjan Nguyen. He got a bit wide there, didn't he, on the cold tyres? Even though it's a really hot day, you still struggled to get those tyres up to the right temperature, and you still understeer big time through turn 1.
Good prediction skills, by the way. Yes, exactly where he came out, behind Sheldon van der Linde, but he's got that nice fresh rubber. So I wonder what kind of fight Sheldon van der Linde will put up if Rene Rast catches up with his fellow Schubert Motorsport car. At the moment, though, he started absolute stone last, kind of mid-pack at the moment, so pretty good progress, but would want a lot more. If the race were to finish now, Mirko Bortolotti would lead Kelvin van der Linde by just 1 point and 9 ahead of Maro Engel.
And more news down in the pit lane with Verena.
And I'm here with Ricardo Feller. Ricardo, what was the problem? Did you have a technical issue?
Yeah, unfortunately, we had a technical issue with the brakes. The car started to be undrivable. We already had some issues this weekend, so it was not going as planned. So, yeah, then we decided that it doesn't make sense to take the risk to lose the car, and we brought it in.
Safety first. Thank you very much. Back to you.
Yeah, sorry to hear that for Ricardo. It's a really bad day. He's not had a great time of it for the last few rounds either. Hasn't been on the podium since the second weekend of the season at the Lausitzring. So day to forget, I'm afraid, for Ricardo, but hopefully things pick up tomorrow. Just on a quick calculation on the points, you've seen the top 3. I reckon with the win, which is coming his way, Jack Aitken, who's already had 2 wins this season, would move on to 110 points and would go, like Sheldon van der Linde did last weekend, from 9th to 4th in the championship. So Aitken is still in this championship fight, you know. He's won more races than anybody else, and he is flying. He's 1.7 seconds clear of Mirko Bortolotti.
This was nothing, Tommy. Keep your heads down, let's keep the pressure up. We're all on your side, let's keep the pressure up. Still long race.
It's like parent having a word with the kid there, isn't it? Like, just calm down.
Calm down,
fine.
Yes.
Just focus on what you're doing. It wasn't nothing. It was just a little tap.
This is what you do.
Neither driver happy with the other. I don't think they're the best pals in this race, are they, Kelvin van der Linde and Thomas Priding? But it's been entertaining to watch, that's for sure.
Yeah, you can't afford to have pals in DTM, can you? Jack Aitken leading the way. I don't want to put any curses on him, but of course, if he does win this race, big if he does, he will be the first driver this year to win 3 races, which would be quite a feat, and you'd expect him to be somewhere up near the top of the points standings. Race laps for Wales in Africa, 35,408 euros, 8.853 per lap. So great initiative by BWT and Be Water Mission, raising money for clean drinking water, a basic human right in certainly in the Gambia, Tanzania, places like that. Really wonderful initiative from the ADAC BWT.
That's right, they give €4 per lap, and that's all the combined laps. You can see that's pushing up to 9,000 combined laps. Look at that for a crowd. Fantastic support here for the DTM at the Sachsenring. We've been treated to some close racing so far. I think there might be some more to come. As René Rast getting on, his last lap time was a 1:20.5, so he was 4/10 quicker than Sheldon van der Linde. Trouble is, he's got to close a 5.2 second gap, so he's going to have to work hard. If there were to be a safety car, René Rast would be quids in, wouldn't he, on a new set of tyres? But for now, it looks like 11th place might be it. So by my calculations, we'll have Kelvin van der Linde, Mirko Bortolotti on 154 points, Kelvin van der Linde on 150, 144 for Maro Engels, so 10 between the three of them, and then 110 points for Jack Aitken, 4th, 5th, Thomas Preining on 5th, Sheldon van der Linde on 106, 6th, Thomas Preining on 104, and at the moment, René Rast is dropping down to 7th in the championship table, but he has done a pretty good job from dead last on the grid to be in the points at all, running in 11th place.
And of course, this is just the first of 2 races this weekend, as Jordan Pepper is the latest to explore the outer limits of Sachsenring. The gold and black Lamborghini going wide, sparks flying from underneath as well. That would have given the under tray a bit of a test, wouldn't it?
Given Thierry Vermeulen a minor heart attack as well, watching that go on just in front of him. Is he going to make the corner? Is he going to take me out with him? But he again, just stayed calm under pressure there, Jordan Pepper. As a bucking Bronco, but he was able to tame it. Thomas Preining looks like he's winding up for another attack to me in the Porsche, closing up to Kelvin van der Linde, who's just had this Porsche in his mirrors the whole time since that pit window, hasn't he? So these two pushing each other hard. They have got away from Jordan Pepper because of his moment through the gravel trap there. So that kind of frees Thomas Preining up now to try a few different lines here potentially, because he's not got to worry about defending his own 7th place.
You can see from the graphic the tyre life on each of the cars, and you can see that René Rast cars only had 9 laps, so there weren't brand new tyres that went on. In fact, the newest tyres look like Nicky Tim with just 6 laps on those soft tyres. So some great information now. Race leader Jack Aitken, those tyres have done 15 laps.
Lucas Auer on the last lap found a way past Max Powell for 15th place. So he's got 1 championship point at the moment for his efforts, which is what he scored in the 2 races here last year at the DNF, and a single point for Lucas Auer. Had a couple of moments through the gravel trap at the Sachsenring 12 months ago. Through the exit to turn 3, then coming out of the Castrol curve up through the left-hand sequence at turns 4, 5, into turn 6 now. Out through there they go, heading up to 200 kilometres an hour through turn 7. Then the track begins to fall away once again. After that climb, you get a descent here as they go down towards the bridge, and then it climbs up again through turns 9 and 10, and then you've got the rapid downhill section to come down through the waterfall. This section of track here, the fastest part of the lap, up to 260, nearly 260 kilometres an hour, which is about 160 miles an hour. Top 3, top 4 go through: Aitken, Bortolotti, Engel and Stoltz, then Miney, and then this battle for 6th place, Kelvin van der Linde and Thomas Preining, glued together for about the last 20 minutes now. He looks in the mirror and he sees, guess what, a Porsche, a bright Porsche, weaving around, trying to find a gap. Preining is very good, isn't he, into turn 13, and gets right underneath the rear wing now of Kelvin van der Linde. He's lining up a move here into turn 1. Kelvin knows what's coming. Further back, Thierry Vermeulen, he's right on the case. I can see of Jordan Pepper as well. Here we go, trying to go around the outside for Thomas Preining. The champion bravely tries the outside move. You're not ever going to do that on Kelvin van der Linde, though. He just stays on the racing line, pushes that Porsche as deep into the corner as he can, and stays ahead. And Jordan Pepper did just about fend off behind him, Thierry Vermeulen and Sheldon van der Linde. A little nudge on the shoulder there from Thomas Preining, just to remind him that he's there.
Yeah, you get a sense of frustration from Thomas Preining. It almost got the job done in the background. Sheldon van der Linde is doing something similar to Thierry Vermeulen.
It's got him, he's got past him. So that will put him up to 9th. He had all that work to get past him before the pit window. So Sheldon now up to 9th place. That's 7 points for him instead of 6. He's still very much in the championship fight as well. So that'll be a useful point gained. A replay then of this battle. It was a brave move to try and go around the outside there. He was trying to get himself the inside for turn 2, but Kelvin there was always just going to sit on the racing line, and there was a bit of contact again between the pair of them. 2 quite light cars now, because they've got hardly any paintwork left on them, have they?
Yeah. Yes, and a few extra dents as well. That's the view from Thierry Vermeulen when he was looking back at Sheldon van der Linde and then the mighty BMW. getting his elbows out, squeezing through.
Look at Priding. He's gone past the commentary box window, right on the tail of Kelvin van der Linde. There's no doubt about it. He's the quicker of the two. There's contact. Pepper and Sheldon van der Linde are coming in as well. Priding goes down the inside. Kelvin van der Linde has to shut the door. And then you've got Sheldon van der Linde trying to get past Jordan Pepper as well. Absolutely side by side on the way down into turn 3. The BMW is on the inside though, and he should get through. The two South Africans together, and Jordan Pepper just about has to give way. And look who's right behind them all of a sudden. It's bright, it's blue, it's Rene Rast.
The man who is always pushing forwards, Rene Rast in the BMW from the back row of the grid, now putting the pressure onto Jordan Pepper. There's another look at that move, and I think Thomas Priding tried to sell the dummy into turn 1, went to the outside, ducked back to the inside, and got the gap on the inside of Kelvin van der Linde, and job was done.
Good move that, wasn't it? Not sure Kelvin would agree, but that was, yeah, I mean, it wasn't without contact on the way through, but he's been so quick coming out of turn 13 every time, hasn't he? And the team cheering him on from the garage. Olaf Mantai in the background there, still as cool as ice. He never shows a flicker of emotion, does he? Just that little glint in his eye, just the smiling eyes that give it away.
You've just seen your race leader come through, Jack Aitken, Mirko Bortolotti, who has yet to shake off the attention of Mauro Engel. Lucas Stoltz, Arjun Maini doing all right, 5th place. But Thomas Priding is going to be trying to reel him in now with 12 minutes remaining.
Rene Rast trying to get around the outside of Jordan Pepper, and he might just do this. The BMW will have the inside line for the left-hander at turn 2. Through he comes, and he gains a place as well. So he is on the prowl here. He's got fresher tyres than everybody around him, and Rene Rast from dead last on the grid. He's now up to 9th place. Having lost that 6th position to Thomas Priding, Kelvin van der Linde will score 1 less point, which means he's now going to be 5 points adrift of Mirko Bortolotti at the end of the race if it stays like this. Just as the cavalry was coming as well, because just before Thomas Priding made that move, Sheldon van der Linde had got past the Thierry Vermeulen Ferrari, and he was on the way to try and help his brother out, I reckon, but that hasn't happened. And here's the move from Rene Rast. Bit of contact, bit of rubbing between them. But Rene was always going to get that left-hander on the BMW. It's a big, brutal car to try and overtake. The 3-litre machine got down the inside of the 550-plus brake horsepower, 600-plus brake horsepower Lamborghini, and that was 9th place sorted. So Priding 6th, Kelvin van der Linde 7th, Sheldon van der Linde 8th, Jordan Pepper and Rene Rast round out the top 10.
Okay, it's your brother and JP behind you now.
Now you need to keep quiet on the freaking radio, dude, okay? I tell you when I want something. Seriously, this is not easy.
Bit rattled, isn't he, Kelvin? I'm not surprised after that battle. Just don't talk to me unless I want you to talk to me. Don't need the information. But even though he's lost a place, I think that in a way it might be a sense of relief, Brian. Rather than having that menacing Porsche behind him, at least he's got his brother behind him now. He knows he's not going to do anything daft.
Yeah, but for how long? Because Rene Rast is looking pretty menacing, isn't he? You get the feeling that, well, you can see how much Thomas Priding was being held up by how quickly he has left Kelvin van der Linde behind. So Thomas Priding in that 6th place already has opened up a gap which is well over half a second, and left Kelvin van der Linde behind him. But yeah, I think Sheldon has got his teammate behind, but I think Rene Rast has plans on getting past the red, yellow and white BMW, just cutting across a little bit of the grass. He's on the team radio.
Now come on, I can't go more.
I'm going to ask you if you caught that, Brian, because I didn't get it.
I thought it was I could do more.
Right.
So I'm wondering whether he is asking the team to allow Sheldon van der Linde to let him through. I might have misheard that, but he clearly thinks that he's the quicker of the two BMWs, and the fact that he's on fresher tyres would back that up. We'll see whether Sheldon puts up any kind of battle into turn 1. Well, yes, he does. He's not exactly stepping aside, is he? But Rene Rast appears to be a bit frustrated.
Bit of contrary here for Sheldon van der Linde, because ahead of him is his brother, who's trying to win the championship. Behind him is his teammate, who's also trying to win the championship. So, yeah, damned if you do, damned if you don't there. Just further back, Lucas Auer up to 14th place now, was right on the rear bumper of Marco Wittmann as they went towards turn 1. So that's a good battle brewing there for 13th place. There is Torsten Schubert, team boss of Schubert Motorsport, and a bit like Olaf Mantai, he never gives too much away when you see him there. Always looks calm and cool and collected, and took BMW's 100th win in the DTM Championship last time out with one of his drivers, Sheldon van der Linde. So there, Lucas Auer, you can see he's now ahead of Marco Wittmann, so he did get through at turn 1 by the looks of it. Still with half the car pointed up at a 45-degree angle is Marco Wittmann, which can't be helping the car aerodynamically. But he's soldiered on, hasn't he? And there he is now in the points, just about in 14th place.
You mentioned that Sheldon van der Linde. Oh, hang on, before we do that, here's Marco Wittmann back on the team radio.
Auer pushed me off track.
Marco is not happy with the move, but just took it around the outside at turn 1 and got the inside line for turn 2, and Auer getting through. And Rast has found a way past Sheldon van der Linde, hasn't he? How did that happen? Flashing the lights. I don't think Sheldon made life too difficult, did he? To his teammate, and left the door open on the way into turn 13.
Having said that, Sheldon van der Linde has got his own championship to think about. I mean, he's very much in contention as well. But I think if René Rast clearly has the quicker car, nobody wins. Certainly not in the Schubert Motorsport garage if he's holding him up. So it'll be interesting to see whether René Rast can do anything about Kelvin van der Linde as he sets about after him. But up into 8th place from the back of the pack. Who said you can't overtake at Sachsenring? René Rast would disagree with that.
That'll be a hat-trick of 8th place finishes as well in a BMW at this track. He was 8th in both the races last year, but this has been significantly a more positive one given his starting position. And he's not necessarily going to finish in 8th place, is he? Because here he is right now on the rear wing of the Audi, which is struggling a bit with his tyres. What a move this is going to be! Down the inside, utter commitment from René Rast. Just throwing it down the inside at 260 kilometres an hour to get that position, and rightly the team applaud that move. René up to 7th.
That was like a rocket. Nobody was going to get in the way of that move, were they? So already he's opened up the gap. Have another look here. Kelvin van der Linde had absolutely nothing. Down the waterfall, René Rast to the outside, going to the runoff area, but then had the legs in towards turn 12. Nice and stable, under braking. No reply from Kelvin van der Linde, and he was through.
That was breathtaking, wasn't it?
Yeah,
René Rast at those speeds. Wow. You don't very often see a move into turn 12. The team were holding their breath for a moment there, weren't they? It was going to go one way or the other, that move, wasn't it? It was either going to be brilliant or disaster, but it was brilliant.
It really was. That was spectacular. So René Rast now sets up after Thomas Preining, and we've still got 6 minutes left. So I'd suggest that 6th place might not be safe the way that René Rast is going at the moment. If the race finished now, Mirko Bortolotti would have that 6-point lead over Kelvin van der Linde. Mauro Engel in that 3rd place, just quietly getting on with the job. Always a contender, just staying in there at the moment. No dramas. Nothing too dramatic at all, just a solid 3rd place.
Yeah, with that move, René Rast would move on to 107 points, dead level with Sheldon van der Linde, and only 1 in front of Thomas Preining. They're all still, as you say, fighting for the championship, aren't they? And that vindicates the request, as it was, subtly, from René Rast on the team radio to say, come on, can I get through past Sheldon? Because I can get more positions here. And boy, has he ever. And as you say, he might be getting a top 6 finish out of this. He's got to try and make up a 2-second gap on Thomas Preining to do that. You've got 5 minutes plus a lap remaining in the race. There's the battle between Lamborghinis of Nicky Tim in the final points paying position in 15th, and Max Powell on his home circuit. No point finishing 16th. Is there Brian? He's going to have to go, surely, if he gets a chance.
It's all or nothing, isn't it? Nobody wants 16th place. 15th place, get a point here. And Nicky Tim looking a bit vulnerable, looking back from him at Max Powell in the Powell Motorsport team car, the family-run car. Do a great job. Welcome addition to the grid of DTM, bearing down on the number 94 car.
Yeah, perhaps not Nicky Tim's strongest circuit this. He certainly might not have raced it as much as some of the other drivers who would have been here much more regularly in the GT Masters. It also have limitations with the noise restrictions here. You can only use the track for 10 days a year because of the noise restrictions, so there's not much opportunity to come and race other things here or test here as well. So it's a tricky circuit, this. It requires a lot of commitment. It requires a car which is absolutely on it because of all these high-speed corners that you've got. And if you don't know it 100%, that's going to be a difficult weekend. Let's get some more team radio now from Thomas Preining.
5 laps to go. Rast is closing. We need to keep pushing, keep pushing. Rast is closing in.
Big blue missile coming in your mirrors, in other words, called René Rast. He's got the gap down from 2 seconds to 0.9 seconds, and you can see confirmation of how that gap has dwindled very quickly over the last 2 laps. So Thomas, who's been on the attack for most of the second half of this race, battling away with Kelvin van der Linde, he's going to have to go on the defence now and try and keep René behind him.
There was a sense of urgency from Thomas Preining's engineer. He's closing. Yeah, you think. So you can see him closing in there. I think that's if he can get past Thomas Preining, I think it's about as far as he's going to get, because Arjen Maini is some 5 seconds up the road. But I think Thomas Preining's got his work cut out. We've seen how quick the blue missile is, and we've seen how quickly he's closing in on him. 3 minutes plus 1 lap. We might not be done and dusted in terms of 6th place yet.
Rast was actually a little bit slower through sector 2, but he was 2/10 quicker through the first half of the lap. Sheldon van der Linde, who now finds himself on the tail of his brother here. So Sheldon pushing hard, a really good start to the race, didn't he? From 8th on the grid at the Nürburgring, found himself behind his brother and said to himself, I don't do anything silly here, but he's got to go for his own points. He's still involved in the championship fight. The BMW goes around the outside. These two trust each other. Mom and Dad at home will be watching this, holding their breath. Please, please don't take each other out, they'll be saying. And look at this, the BMW with its rear wheel on the curbs. He's going to try and get the inside line for the top of the hill for the next left-hander coming up, and he won't do it. Kelvin van der Linde keeps the 2022 champion at bay because he needs the points. Every single one is going to count this year in what is a super tight championship. But this, a very tight battle. They trust each other. They're massive friends as well as brothers. But you're talking about millimetres here. Get it slightly wrong and you could both be in the gravel.
Good, clean racing, though, just to prove they can run side by side. You can see how much Sheldon van der Linde is pushing. So I'm just picking up a bit of dirt as he takes as much curve as he dare. Back out of the car, stepping out. That was a little bit too much that he took. That's exactly what Kelvin van der Linde needed. Arjen Chen also off into the gravel. So 2 cars losing traction at exactly the same time. Arjen Chen, he's on the team radio to Manthey EMA. Oh, it's got a puncture.
I think slow puncture very right. Slow puncture very right.
Oh dear, that's what's sending him off the road.
What did we say at the start of the show about tyres, and especially with Porsches? We had it last year, and we've had it in previous years. The tyres on the Porsches don't seem to like this surface.
Turn 9, wasn't it? And through the gravel trap he went. Thankfully, the big wide gravel trap there. Lucky that tyre didn't go a couple of corners later on the way down the waterfall. That would have been pretty terrifying, I think. So more bad luck for Arjen Chen, I'm afraid, in the 2024 season. That puts him out of the race. It promotes Lucas Auer up to 12th, Marco Wittmann up to 13th, Nicky Tim up to 14th, and Max Powell now up into the points, or 1 point at least, in 15th place. Maro Engel then closing in on the championship leader at the moment, Kelvin van der Linde, but losing out to the driver that is about to become the championship leader, Mirko Bortolotti, because Mirko is 1 place ahead of him in second and on course for 4 more championship points. Arjen Chen gets out of the Porsche. Another disappointment for him. Hopefully he'll come back tomorrow and get the sort of result that he got here last year with that excellent podium finish. So at the end of this lap, the clock will have ticked down to 0. So 2 laps to go, including the one we're on in the 60-minute plus 1 lap race. We've barely seen him, have we? But Jack Aitken has just controlled things at the front of the field beautifully, hasn't he?
He has a 1.7 second gap, just doing what he needs without taking any unnecessary risks, but without wishing to be a prophet of doom. We need to wait until the checkered flag. We've seen it with Arjen Maini. Getting these tyres to the end of the race is a trick in itself, and we've still got to get to the end of the race to pick up the points. Aitken at the moment, though, in a very solid position. Mirko Bortolotti will be pretty happy with a 2nd place and the jump to the top of the points that would give him.
So in his 25th race in the DTM, Jack Aitken is just a few kilometres away from picking up his 4th victory in the championship. There are still battles to be had further back than Marco Wittmann rolling his sleeves up, scrapping away all the way through this race with a misshapen car. Nicky Tim is the driver carrying the onboard camera. That's right behind him now as they come out of turn 3. The pair of them battling over 13th position. Max Powell And Ben Durr just behind as well. Ben has picked up a couple of championship points finishes this year already in the McLaren, the sole remaining McLaren. So good four-way scrap going on here in the last stages of the race. But past the commentary box window, Jack Aitken comes. He's just started his final lap of the race. 3.5 kilometres to go for the British driver to pick up his 4th win in the championship. Mirko Bortolotti looking safe in second. He's 2 seconds behind Aitken. He's a second clear of Maro Engel in 3rd place, having that gap come down to about half a second at one point. So Mirko Bortolotti be happy with another podium finish here. Not a win, but he just wanted to maximise what he could here. And the key thing for Mirko is that he's beaten all of his closest championship rivals in this race, which is all he needs to keep trying to do. So let's get some team radio from Jack Aitken on the final lap of the race.
Final lap. Okay.
There you go. Just to make sure he knew, his race engineer said, this is it, last lap. Copy is the simple reply that comes from Jack Aitken. He's about to come out of turn 10 through this little kink, almost a corner, but not quite, and to the waterfall and down into the final sector. So Jack Aitken and Emil Frey Racing looking now to pick up their 4th win in the DTM and his 25th start. The first driver to win 3 races in the DTM 2024 season. The name is Jack Aitken, and he's about to throw himself right into the championship fight. Jack Aitken wins here at the Sachsenring.
Right 100 and the victory. Well done, Jack. Well done. What a win. Drive offline, drive offline, drive offline. Drive offline, and well done.
And don't forget to drive offline, Jack. That's to pick up the rubber on the tyres.
Happy birthday, Emil Frey. Really, really good job, guys. That was perfect all the way through. Really, really happy with that. Car was mega. Thank you.
Fantastic. Jack puts his arm out of the window, waves at the crowd, waves at the marshals. They applaud what's been a fantastic drive, a dominant performance from Jack Aitken. About an hour before qualifying, they were all at sea, about half a second off the pace. They couldn't figure out why, but they did in the end. And it was all to do with tyres. And then he flew in qualifying, started on pole position for the race, and he's never looked troubled, has he really? So Jack Aitken wins for the 3rd time this season. I reckon that puts him up to 4th in the championship as well. Mirko Bortolotti will become the championship leader with that 2nd place finish, and he'll be 5 points clear of Kelvin, 6 points clear of Kelvin van der Linde, because Kelvin lost that other place, didn't he, to René Rast at the end of the race, and down to 8th place in the end. And Maro Engel with another podium finish. Miserable time at the Sachsenring last year, but like Jack Aitken, who had two retirements here last year, due a good result at this track. It kind of owed both drivers, and they've now had their deliverance, because Jack Aitken will get the winner's trophy and Mirko Bortolotti 2nd, and Maro Engel will get the 3rd place trophy, and that's going to be Maro's 6th podium finish of the year. Lucas Stoltz in 4th. He was a winner here last year. Arjun Maini back on form in 5th place. Thomas Preininger battling 6th. René Rast from the back to 7th. An excellent drive. Kelvin van der Linde in 8th. Sheldon van der Linde 9th. And well done, Jordan Pepper. 10th on your debut for the Grasser Racing team. 11th to Vermeulen, 12th to Auer, 13th to Wittmann, 14th to Tim, and 15th. And the final championship point going to Max Powell. And the other finisher just outside the points by 0.3 of a second was the McLaren of the rookie Ben Durr, doing a good, solid job. So there he stands, and the graphic, Jack Aitken, all smiles. A very hard race. You can see why the fitness levels of these drivers have to be so high, and Jack is one of the fittest drivers out there. And let's hear now from your new championship leader.
That's good job. Thank you. Mega job. Congrats, everyone.
Mega job from a tired sounding Mirko Bortolotti. He sounded a bit under weather when Verena interviewed him on the grid, I thought. So he's suffering maybe with a bit of a cold or something this weekend. But it hasn't affected his speed, has it? A great performance once again from Mirko Bortolotti. That's now 3 podiums from the last 4 races from him. He keeps on racking up the points. He'll have to carry the success ballast going into the race tomorrow for that 2nd place, but it's not going to be too bad at 10 kilograms. Then you can see the new total for the race laps for Africa that's been raised by BWT and the ADAC. So there is the winning Ferrari. There is Mirko Bortolotti. It's great to see the matching sunglasses and the matching towel keeping his head clean earlier on. and being congratulated by Gianni Frabetti there, the right of the picture, who looks after the brake supply and the underparts supply for a lot of these cars for the Lamborghinis from TM Performance, and always goes absolutely ballistic when a Lamborghini wins. But he was congratulating a Ferrari driver over the win on this occasion. His man Mirko Bortolotti coming home in second. And there is your race winner, the Ferrari driver, Emil Frey Racing, the Swiss team, and they give him a big hug, congratulate him. It's been a fine performance from Jack Aitken, a lights to flag victory. Mirko Bortolotti and Maro Engel will join him on the podium very shortly. And an excellent day's racing so far in hot conditions. 30 degrees outside of the car, make it 60 degrees inside the cockpit.
Quick, take a selfie while he's got the helmet on. Just when you think you know where this championship is going, it has a habit of turning around. There's Pavel taking the helmet from Jack Aitken, one of the great and good of Emil Frey Racing. But the championship just takes so many twists and turns. So it looked for a while as though Kelvin van der Linde was going to start to walk away at the front, and now suddenly Mirko Bortolotti's there. Suddenly Jack Aitken is back in the battle. You can't discount this man either. He looks absolutely knackered.
Yeah, it's not an easy race at all for Sheldon van der Linde. Kind of the best he could have done. What a drive from that man, though. René Rast, superb. And one of the moves of the year, I reckon, wasn't it?
Yes.
That move on Kelvin van der Linde, that was brave. Sweat dripping off Marco Wittmann as well. He's had to battle an ailing car pretty much since the very start of the race. So only a 13th place, but a gutsy drive that from Marco Wittmann to pick up some points in the race. And there, the Der Motorsport driver, the final finisher, Bender, in 16th place. But a word for him and the team as well. They're doing well, aren't they, in their first season? He's already picked up some points. The team have picked up points. Now, that excellent 4th place finish with Clement Schmidt at Zandvoort as well. Right, let's get some reaction to that race then, down in the pit lane with Verena.
And I've got Mirko here. Congratulations. What a race. You managed to secure from P2 to 2nd place. So congratulations to that. And especially now you're the leader of the championship again.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's been the best we could do. As you could see, I mean, Jack was in an own league. So for me, it was important to bring it home and take the points.
And you did it. So congratulations. Thank you very much. Back to you.
Thanks, Verena. Yeah, Mirko will be very pleased about that. And yeah, if you're going to be beaten by somebody, then if it's not one of your closest championship rivals, that's kind of okay, isn't it? So front row of the grid, finishes in 2nd place. Happy days racing for Mirko Bortolotti, and the Lamborghinis look good here, Brian. So there's no reason why you can't get another good result tomorrow.
No, of course, he'll have the success ballast on board of 10 kilograms. That man there is going to have an extra 20 kilos on board. But yes, tomorrow's a new day. As far as I'm aware, the weather forecast is pretty similar to today. So qualifying will be tomorrow morning at about 9:20 local time, where we get to do it all again. And Mirko Bortolotti will be looking to get back on the podium tomorrow as well. And that would really do his championship hopes wonders.
Thomas Preining, fresh from his proper old ding-dong with Kelvin van der Linde in the middle of that race, fresh with his new goatee beard as well. 6th place for Thomas, a good effort in the end, but what could he have done if he hadn't had that 5th-place grid penalty from pole position? In the end, Brian, that success ballast of 20 kilograms looked like it was really telling on the tyres of Kelvin van der Linde's Audi, didn't it? In this abrasive circuit, with all those hills and inclines, it's not just the tyres, it's also the extra weight you've got to carry up those hills. It looked like he was really struggling in the last 15 minutes of the race, did Kelvin in the Audi.
Yeah, there are some circuits where the success ballast is going to have less of an effect. I would suggest somewhere like Norrisring, but here I think the success ballast is going to impact pretty heavily on a circuit with this much undulation and tyre abrasion. As we look at 3rd place, Maro Engel, car 130 for Mercedes-AMG Team Winwood.
Yeah, Maro Engel, another podium for him. That is 4 podiums on the trot now for Maro Engel. That sort of consistency is not easy to come by in the DTM. 2nd in race 2 at the Norrisring, 3rd in race 1 at the Nürburgring, and 2nd in race 2 at the Nürburgring, and now another podium here for Maro Engel, turning into his best season by far in the DTM. But we shouldn't be surprised because he is one of the best GT3 drivers in the world, a former Nürburgring 24-hour winner and a multiple winner at the Macau Grand Prix as well, which hopefully he's going to be taking part in this November as well. The man from Munich on his 103rd race start picks up his 9th podium. So there, Jack Aitken enjoying a bit of shade, but it doesn't exactly look like he's been through the mill, does he? He's fit as a fiddle, Jack Aitken. Most of us would be on our knees if we'd done what he's just done, but he's showing his fitness levels there. Still hard work, though. Did a great job, and he's your race winner. Now a 3-time race winner in the 2024 season. There's Mirko Bortolotti trying to cool down as well, getting some cool water, looking very cool in his shades there as well, Brian. And he had the matching towel on the grid as well, didn't he?
Yes, soaked with cold water on his head. He'll want that back as soon as he possibly can. Onto the podium comes the 3rd place finisher, Maro Engel. Good job done by him.
His daughter Sophia keeps making demands of Maro Engel. Can you make sure you get on the podium, make sure you finish 2nd? So he's got to keep doing this now, otherwise he's going to get grief from his daughter, and he's doing a great job. We caught him with Maro yesterday, didn't we, last night briefly, and said, you should be all right around here. And the Mercedes said, yeah, the trouble is there'll be 19 other drivers that will quit around here as well. So he makes no bounds about the fact this is going to be a really difficult season. There's your winner, though. Jack Aitken makes his way up onto the top step of the podium. Mirko Bortolotti to the left, Maro Engel to the right. And your winning team are Emil Frey Racing, the Swiss squad team representative. Coming up now, they'll get the trophy as well. And the next thing is to get the British national anthem for your race winner, Jack Aitken. Jack Aitken, winner of race 1 here at the Sachsenring, round 11 of the DTM 2024 Championship. He's won 3 of the 11 races now. The consistency in terms of the results hasn't quite been there this year, which is why he's not right at the top of the championship table. But if he can get some consistency in between the race wins for the rest of the season, he should not be ruled out. So Wolfgang Wagner-Sachs from the German Motorsport Federation presents the winning trophy to an all-smiling Jack Aitken on the top step of the podium. Our next trophy is going to be presented by Maximilian Arnold, Mirko Bortolotti lookalike.
I just thought, what's Mirko doing there?
as he brings the trophy to guess who? Mirko Bortolotti. You could swap places and nobody would ever know. So Mirko Bortolotti, all smiles, holds aloft the second place trophies. Fans down there cheering him on with the Italian flag. And Lars Riedel, the Olympic champion, the discus throw, 7 times a world champion. He could throw a discus for over 71 metres was his record. So he's a guest of the AB Sportsline team this weekend. He's definitely not going to drop the trophy. That won't be a problem. And Ines Springer from the ADAC Transport section presents the winning team trophy to Emil Frey Racing. And remember, only their 2nd season in the championship and relatively new for the last 2 years to running Ferraris as well, having run Lamborghinis previously. All 3 drivers will now make their way onto the top step. The winning team representative will try and join them, and once they've had the photos, the final race of the day will be for the champagne spray. And the one that's definitely not going to win this is the team representative. The drivers are much more well-versed. Their confirmation of just 10 points now between the top 3 in the championship standings, with 2 of them up there on the podium. And I'm sure a slightly frustrated Kelvin van der Linde finishing in 8th place, although it was forward progress from where he started on the grid, and he did have all that success ballast on the car as well. Here we go then, champagne time. I think Mirko won that one just about ahead of Jack Aitken. And Maro Engel gets involved as well, and they'll get some very welcome relief with a bit of cool alcohol there, and the team member never gets away with it, do they? So Jack Aitken makes sure the champagne is shared between the team. What a great drive that from Jack Aitken. And be a case of looking back at all the ifs and buts this year. If he'd had just a few more top 6 finishes here and there, he'd have been right up there in the championship. But you know what, Brian? He's still in the mix.
Yes, never say never. And there's still plenty to go. We've still got another 5 races left this season, including 1 tomorrow. I would wager that Kelvin van der Linde will be knocking on the door tomorrow for sure. He'll want that championship lead back in a hurry.
Indeed he will. So up there on the podium, I can see Verina's getting ready very shortly with some interviews. But from the commentary box, that's it from Brian Oliver and me, Chris Hartley. Hope you've enjoyed our coverage. Let's go to Verina now on the podium.
And I've got Jake Aitken here. Congratulations from P1 to victory. And you did it. Congratulations. You did a phenomenal job. So I guess you're very excited about that.
Yeah, I'm over the moon. It's a perfect day for Emil Frey to win because it's our 100th birthday since we started. And, you know, they worked really hard to turn it around from practice where we struggled a little bit. Car was mega. I had a pretty faultless race, so over the moon.
Congratulations. And Maro Engel, you actually did a really good job because you were coming from P5 to P3 and also you're now the third in the championship, but there are only 10 points between you and the leader of the championship. So it's moving closer together. So anything is possible here.
Yeah, absolutely. Good race for us. Moving up to P3 was the maximum today and managed to close the gap to the leaders in the championship a little bit. So we'll keep pushing, but it's been a good day.
All right, well, congratulations to the two of you. And yeah, that was the Sachsenring, the first race day. And now, of course, we're looking forward to tomorrow. It's going to be super exciting. You do not want to miss it. So see you tomorrow. And now here are the highlights. Do enjoy.